Greetings, YouTube, and let me begin by saying, spoiler alert, massive, epic, earth-shattering, season-crushing spoiler alerts. These are just the kind of spoilers that your mother always warned you about. So unless you have an innate, intense desire that spoilers should permeate the very fabric of your being from this day until your last day, then for the love of God, run. Run far, run fast, and above all, run now. Okay, now that we've cleared out all the weaklings who are either unable or unwilling to handle the truth, let's light this glass candle and have a look at what may or may not be in store for us with Game of Thrones Season 8, Episode 1. Season 8, Episode 1, Scene 1. In the aftermath of the Night King's army's attack on Eastwatch by the Sea, Tormund and Gendry flee as the resurrected dragon-white Viserion rains fire on the Night's Watch remnants defending Castle Black. Lord Commander Dolorous Edd falls at the hands of a White Walker. As the others bolt southwards for safety, Lord Beric Dondarrion stays behind, killing the White Walker that felled Edd. Tormund and Gendry ride for Winterfell as Castle Black smolders, now ruined in the background. Scene 2. Daenerys, Jon, Tyrion, Davos, Jorah, Brienne, Podrick, the Hound, Melisandre, Varys, and Theon arrive in Winterfell. Davos comments that it's gotten both colder and darker since he left with Jon. Jon and Arya are reunited finally. Daenerys meets Sansa Stark, and Sansa asks whether she and Jon are in love now. Daenerys doesn't give a clear response. Sansa seems less pleased with Jon returning to Winterfell in light of Daenerys' presence, which Jon notices. He and Sansa talk privately. Sansa relates to Jon the circumstances culminating in the execution of Peter Baelish and conveys what has come to light of Littlefinger's surreptitious part in the Stark's misfortunes previously. She also re-emphasizes the idiocy of contemplating an alliance with Cersei Lannister. The scene continues with the Hound and Arya, as Arya tells the Hound that she didn't regret leaving him behind to die. The Hound answers that Arya should rightfully have killed him off then and there, given what he saw beyond the wall. Scene 3. Euron Greyjoy arrives back in King's Landing with the Golden Company, where he and the Golden Company's commanders are received by Cersei in the throne room. Cersei thanks Euron for conveying the sellswords to King's Landing. Cersei orders the company's commander-in-chief to take Storm's End and to garrison his army in the fortress. Robert Baratheon once told her that the fortress has stood for many centuries, and she's sure that it will remain standing during the long night as well. With no Baratheons left to defend at Storm's End, there will be little difficulty in taking the stronghold as a garrison, and the fortress will provide a protected position from which to eventually proceed. Later, Euron is about to have sex with Cersei and jokes how she won't miss Jaime after what he has to give her. Cersei's expression makes plain that she is little pleased to have Euron in her bed. As he boards the Silence to ferry the sellswords to Storm's End, Euron tells Cersei he expects them to wed upon his return. Once they've weighed anchor on board the Silence, Euron has a conversation with Yara Greyjoy about Queen Cersei. Yara pointedly tells her uncle that she knows he isn't interested in being Queen Cersei's lapdog, that ostensibly being the role to which he could expect to be relegated as her husband. Euron laughs, telling Yara that his good friends from Braavos will be taking care of that problem for him soon enough. Scene 4. Daenerys, Jon, Sansa, Tyrion, Davos, Melisandre, Sam, Varys, the Northern Lords, and the Knights of the Vale gather in the Great Hall of Winterfell. Sweet Robin is also present in this scene. Samuel reunites with Jon and the two share a hug. Jon tells Sam he's glad to have him back. The Northern Lords aren't too eager to accept Daenerys as their queen. Daenerys defends herself eloquently, but is not enough to garner the support of the North quite yet. Lyanna Mormont characteristically tells Daenerys Targaryen that she will never call her Your Grace, because she only knows one king, and that's Jon Snow, the king in the north. Tyrion intercedes, observing that Ser Jorah's niece is a precocious girl. Ser Jorah echoes the sentiment, further commenting that Mormonts stand less for ceremony than for brutal honesty. Jon tells them there's no time to argue with each other and brings up that there hasn't been word of the Lannister army yet. Sansa chides that she warned them not to trust Cersei Lannister. Tyrion replies that they can trust his brother Jaime, but Daenerys doesn't seem to agree on this point. The group discusses how they will defend the North against the Night King's army. Jon Snow tells Sweet Robin that it would be wise to lure the Night King to the Eyrie by retreating there. Robin absentmindedly assents to Jon's proposal. After the meeting, Daenerys tells Jon that the Northerners really are stubborn and cantankerous. Scene 5. Theon Greyjoy visits the Godswood of Winterfell, thinking of his friend Robb, and meets with Bran Stark. He immediately apologizes to Bran for everything that he's done against House Stark, but Bran tells him there's no need for that. He knows that Theon has redeemed himself by saving his sister Sansa. He has also seen how much he has suffered at the hands of Ramsay Bolton. Theon asks how he knows all this, but Bran doesn't respond. Arya and Brienne are training, and Jon is duly impressed by his sister's fighting skills. Arya mentions that she has never forgotten to stick her enemies with the pointy end. He asks Arya why she didn't join the meeting in the Great Hall of Winterfell. Arya answers that Sansa is way better in those things than she is. Scene 6. The scene unfolds on Volantis, where the Lady Melisandre enters the Temple of R'hllor. She is welcomed by the High Priestess Kinvara. Melisandre tells the High Priestess that she has fulfilled her part in the War for the Dawn and can join in ice and fire, as well as resurrecting the prince who was promised in King Jon Snow. Kinvara tells Melisandre that she served R'hllor well in these matters, but less so in others, wherein she needs to atone. Kinvara tells Melisandre that their god demands one more sacrifice of her, one which requires Melisandre to return to the north. Melisandre answers that she isn't allowed to enter the north. Kinvara smiles and tells Melisandre that to refuse this request would entail acceptance of Kinvara's punishment as the requisite measure of atonement in its stead. Scene 7. The scene opens on Jaime Lannister at an inn when he is then quite unexpectedly joined by Bronn, who has clearly trailed him there. Jaime asks why Bronn had followed him. Bronn answers that there's nothing left for him in the cesspool of King's Landing, and he's up for whatever adventures brewing in the north. Jaime's clearly glad to have Bronn by his side. Bronn then asks what Jaime's plan is now. Jaime says he's on his way to Riverrun to resume command of Lannister forces currently garrisoning there. Jaime adds his intention of abandoning the position. Bronn asks why he would give up the castle he has been occupying. Jaime answers, questioning what purpose would defending Riverrun serve. What does he gain with that? Jaime muses that Edmure and the Tullys can have Riverrun back for all he cares. As the conversation continues, Bronn pointedly asks Jaime why he has left the woman he loves the most, but Jaime doesn't fully respond to this question. Scene 8. Tormund and Gendry arrive in Winterfell. Jon Snow asks Sansa why Bran hadn't bothered to join the meeting in the Great Hall, or why Bran hadn't even come to see him. Sansa explains that Bran has changed a lot. He calls himself the Three-Eyed Raven now. She tells Jon not to expect much of a conversation with Bran. Samwell interrupts, telling Jon that he and Bran urgently need to discuss a matter of pressing importance with him. Jon joins Bran in the Godswood, where Bran is looking back into the past. Jon mentions encountering a warg behind the wall. Sam responds that Bran is much more than a warg. He's a greenseer, and outlines some of the distinctions. The two then inform Jon as to the full details of his parentage, of which Jon is predictably and vehemently skeptical. Bran tells Jon he knows everything about him, how he saw Jon beyond the wall, surrounded by the free folk, along with fighting at Hardhome against the Night King, plus how he'd seen Jon stabbed to death by his own men, and so forth. Jon remains understandably incredulous that he's a Targaryen, a happenstance which Sam exacerbates with the further mention that in being born Aegon Targaryen, legitimate heir of the Crown Prince Rhaegar, Jon's claim to the Iron Throne supersedes that of Daenerys. So, let me know what you think of all that in the comments, and be sure to like or subscribe for episode 2 of season 8 breakdown coming soon.